it's KELLS back at it again with another video, another Friday night kickback. I promised you that each and every Friday I was gonna go live, I was gonna come on and show my face. So here I go, here I go. Here's my face for the 8th or 9th week in a row. So I definitely want you guys to clap it up for the consistency, yes? I would so appreciate that. Last week we had a really big turnout. Y'all really showed up and showed out last week. I think you really liked the topic. It was DC versus ATL. So if you've not seen that live, after this one, go ahead and jump into my videos and take a peek at that one. I think you really like it. I did drop some gems in that, or so I'm told. So hopefully you did catch that and you did like it. If not, you can catch it after this one. But for tonight, we're talking about something a little bit different, and you can probably see it in the title of the video, right? But I'm still gonna do my little reveal of what the topics are gonna be for tonight. I'm gonna let you know what was actually in the options for the running for tonight's topic of the kickback, and I'll let you know what the percentages were and what everybody voted for. But before we get into that, you know the deal, you know the deal. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Chime in the comments. Let me know where you are watching from and what you are sipping on. Yes? Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. I appreciate you guys so much. Those who are catching me live and those who catch us on the replay, appreciate you both just as much. Yeah, so we're going to get into it. I know this week, with all that's going on in the news, is a little bit of a somber week, I would say. But I'm still going to try to, okay, we got Connecticut in the building. I'm still going to try to make it, you know, bring a little levity to the thing. These kickbacks are really just an opportunity for us to reconnect with the collective, relax, decompress from the week, unwind from all the code switching that we have to do at work all week, even over Zoom, and really just reconnect with the KELLS community. So I appreciate you guys so much for being here, and we'll try to bring a little levity to the topics this week. So let me talk about, first and foremost, what the options were. So let me pull those up. I have it on my phone here. That's a little Basquiat for you guys. All right, so let me see what the options were. So just as a reminder, volume is always on 100. All right, so the options for this week's kickback. All right, here we go. So the first option was how to listen to your intuition and go hard toward your dreams. That was option number one, and you probably see that in the topic of this, the subject of this live. The second option was moving and living overseas, pro tips and key things to know. All right, so moving and living overseas, key things to know. You guys know I know a little bit about that, just having lived in a couple different places. And then number three, option three was still time to level up during quarantine, or has your time been wasted? And that option came in as a direct request from a friend of mine. So I went ahead and threw that in the options. And then number four option was low-key gender roles in high-value relationships. So basically talking about the gender roles that occupy, that are in high-value relationships, whether you recognize them or not. Yeah. And so let's look at the numbers. The highest, the number one, and this is on Instagram. And you guys know, if you want to chime in on what we talk about during these kickbacks, you have to hit us up you have to pay attention on the Instagram or the community tab here on YouTube. And I also do it on the It's KELLS page on Facebook. Oh, you didn't on Facebook. You didn't know. We have a Facebook page. Yes. So just look up It's KELLS on Facebook. You will see me in an orange top. And yeah, that is where we do our poll questions on Facebook. So you can always chime in on what you want to see on Instagram, here on YouTube, or on Facebook. I put the options every Thursday before we go live on Friday nights. Yeah? Yeah. I just snatched my doggone earring out. Let me go ahead and put my earring back in. Yeah. So I think those were the options. And you know what? I'm going to backtrack a little bit and just take a moment. I think this week, just what's going on in the news warrants just kind of like a moment of silence, just for us to give thanks for the opportunities that we have here, for the situations that we have here. And when I say here, I don't mean just in the US, because a lot of my viewers are from all over the world, but just wherever you are, giving thanks for the opportunities that you have, the safety that you have, the family, the friends, the loved ones, or even just the wholeness of yourself. Because the way the state of the world is right now, you just never know what's going to happen, what's going on. So you have to give God thanks and gratitude. And if it's not God, you give thanks to the universe, you give thanks to the powers that be, whomever you feel like is your guiding light or your guiding star, your north star, whether it be yourself or God or universe or whomever. Just gratitude in your heart for safety, for love, for family, for friends, for food, and for just the opportunity to do what you like every day, even if it's in the smallest amounts. So I'm going to say that because I feel like this week it's just been a lot in the news, and it's not been good news to be frank. Yeah. So a moment. All right. Let's take a sip to that. Pour a little out for the ancestors, whatever we got to do. Clink, 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 clink. Cheers. Cheers. All right, guys. So back to the, we got Ferdinand in the building. Hey, Ferdinand, all the way from South Africa. All right. So, you know what? I haven't been sending you guys my favorite Amapiano songs. I might drop one in the chat tonight just so you guys know that I am still on my Amapiano kick. Right? So I'll let you guys know what my favorite one has been for the past few days, because the past couple of lives I haven't let you guys know, but please believe I am still vibing out to Amapiano. Ferdinand just reminded me of that, our viewer from South Africa. Okay, so on Instagram, of those 4 choices that we just talked about, the top choice that you guys wanted to talk about was how to listen to your intuition and go hard toward your dreams. Yeah. And the reason why that even became an option was because recently on IG, I put up a post. It was a red dress, and I kind of was like, it was a little Valentine's Day outfit, and I was feeling myself in it. So I decided to post it up. But instead of just posting the reel, I actually explained to you guys in a caption. It was a hella long caption, but I actually explained to you guys in the caption why how I was feeling when I was posting that particular video. And I'll share it with you, because that did turn out, I think that following your intuition and not being boxed in, that was the whole premise of that reel that I did on IG. And that's how we came up with the first topic. And it seemed to really resonate with you guys. So I'll tell you a little bit more about what I was thinking there for that first topic, because we will get into it tonight. Our second 2 top topics on IG were moving and living overseas, pro tips and key things to know. And then tied with still time to level up during quarantine, or have you wasted your time? All right, so those were the low-key gender roles and high-value relationships did not receive any votes over on IG. All right, and so let's have a quick look, see on YouTube what you guys picked. Okay, same options over here on YouTube. How to, excuse me, how to listen to your intuition and go hard, moving and living overseas, pro tips, still time to level up during quarantine, or low-key gender roles. Had a lot of votes on this one, and your number 1 on YouTube was moving and living overseas. Can y'all see that? So if ever you want to chime in on what we're going to be talking about during our kickbacks, make sure to check the community tab on YouTube or over in my stories on IG, okay? So your number 1 by far here on YouTube is moving and living overseas, pro tips and key things to know. Let me drop that a little bit just so you guys can see me a little bit. All right, and then your number 2, it's funny because on YouTube, all of the other 3 options tied. So is it still time to level up during quarantine, low-key gender roles, and how to listen to your intuition and go hard? So all of those tied for, I guess, second place or last place on YouTube. So you guys really wanted to talk about moving and living overseas, pro tips and key things to know. Okay, so we'll definitely get into that. You guys already know that I have a couple videos here on my YouTube channel that talk about how I decided to live overseas, how I did it, how the experience was, and how you can do it too. So we'll get into that tonight. But first, I wanted to start with the first option, how to listen to your intuition and go hard towards your dreams. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that one is because it's gonna be, I don't have all the answers. You know, I don't got all the answers, Sway. You know what I mean? But I do kind of encourage myself sometimes. And I will tell you guys what I am thinking about and how I try to tune into my intuition and what my inner dialogue is right now as it relates to intuition, and trying to let my intuition be my guiding force towards what I want to do next in my life. Right? So let me jump into the comments real quick. Let me see what you guys are talking about. I see you guys are streaming in. I so appreciate the love. You know the deal. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Chime in on the comments. Let me know where you are watching from and what you are sipping on. So we are going to get some It's KELLS mugs and other merch pretty soon. But you guys know my priority was get consistent with the content, and we are on week 8. This is week 8, guys. So we have been going live every Friday for the last 8 weeks since New Year's Eve going into 2022. And you know, I just got to clap it up for myself because I feel good about that. That's what I really wanted to do, is get back with you guys, get back in the community, get back learning from the collective wisdom of the It's KELLS community, and, you know, using my voice, getting my voice out there. I get a lot of compliments on my voice, and I love that. So that to me translates to use your voice. And so that's what we're doing here on the platform. So cheers, clink, clink, clink to that. And let me tell you a little bit about why I picked that first topic and how it relates to the reel that I just recently posted on IG. But first, a little H2O for the dolls so the throat chakra can be lubricated. We're still drinking water during these lives. I promise you, I say this every week, but I promise you one of these weeks, I'm gonna pop up with some pomegranate Ciroc. Promise you guys. But for tonight, we're still sipping on some H2O to keep the chakras aligned, throat chakra, you know, humming on the right frequency so that I can deliver for you guys, yeah? Finally got my hair done. Ooh, child, my hair needed to be done. I'm so happy. My stylist here in Atlanta, she is amazing. Hard to get a hold of because she's booked and busy, but we're really glad that I was able to get on her books for last week and get a little fresh do so that I feel a little bit good. In the comments, we have Azra from Connecticut, Ferdinand from South Africa. Appreciate you so much. And that's all who's chiming in the comments right now. I see you guys watching, but I don't see you guys talking on comments. That's okay. I feel like pretty soon you'll chime in and you'll let me know where you're watching from and what you're sipping on. Okay, so to get into the first topic, let me pull up my IG so that I could tell you guys exactly what I said on my reel, which is what is the muse or the inspiration for tonight's live that you guys actually picked. All right, so this is the reel. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you can see that with the there we go. That's the reel, and you can see it's a red dress from that was from Valentine's Day. Ooh, hey Laura from Miami. And so when I posted that reel, you know, I was feeling myself a little bit, but I had put in the comments what I was really feeling. So I'm gonna let you guys know what I was saying in that reel, just in case you didn't see it, and how it relates to tonight's live. And I just saw 333 in the comments. So you know 333 is my number, guys. You may or may not know that, but 333 is my number. So just saw that. So we are blessed in this live tonight. Yeah. And just before I read this, I just want you guys to know the intention for these lives are for us to just kick it, for us to chime in the comments, reconnect with our folks from across the world, Ferdinand in South Africa. Half the time we have folks from Shanghai in here, Berlin, of course, the East Coast of the US, and we have our London, you know, our Londonites, our Brits in here as well. A lot of times our European friends have to catch us on replay, which is quite fine. I still invite you to chime in the comments. I read everyone. I respond to everyone. But those of us who can catch us live on the West Coast of the US or the East Coast of the US, South America, the Caribbean, we watch live and we chime in the comments. But the point of these videos is just to decompress. The point of these kickbacks is just to decompress from the week. Come on in, sip on something a little, you know, something a little bit, you know, giving you a little vibe, if you will, and just reconnect for the week and get ready to go into the weekend and make it do what it do. Yeah. All right. So This week is a little bit of a heavier week just based on what's going on in the world, but we're still going to try to bring a little levity to the thing, because at the end of the day, it's gratitude. As long as you have life, you have everything, right? So it's gratitude to the Most High that we are safe and sound and we're able to here to connect with each other over live, yeah? Across the world. How amazing is that? All right, so going back to the reel. So this particular reel and the caption I have in this reel is what was the muse or the inspiration for tonight's topic. And it is actually the one that you guys ended up voting for and choosing as your top topic. So it was just one I put as an option, but you guys really resonated with that reel. That reel got a lot of traction, girl. A lot of traction. And so I think it's because what I was saying in the comments really resonated with y'all. And so here's what I said in the comments, just in case you missed that reel. And the reel I'm talking about is the most recent one I put on IG, and it's me in the red dress. As a matter of fact, let me pop my IG in the comments so y'all could, just in case you want to see that reel, you could see exactly what I'm talking about. And if you want to read the comments yourself, you could do that too. So let me go over and pop that reel in the, pop my Instagram in the comments so you can see the reel that we're talking about. I don't know. Oh, I think I could actually pop the actual, yes, I can. So I'm gonna pop the actual link to the reel that we're talking about in the comments so you can see what we're talking about. And if you're not following me on IG, go ahead and follow the doll, follow your girl. I would so appreciate it. Yes, hey Keith, what's up? Thanks for being here. So that's the reel that I'm talking about, just in case you wanna see what I'm talking about. But let's get into what I wrote in the caption of the reel, which is the inspiration for tonight's topic. So I say, here I go again with another post, and you might be wondering, why all of a sudden KELLS is posting so much on social? Well, the truth is my entire corporate career has made me feel very silenced when it comes to my creativity and my personal expression. And surviving the last few years has renewed my determination to not be silenced and to not play small. I thought that if I fully expressed myself online, that I would not be taken seriously in my career and as a businesswoman. But the truth of the matter is, I no longer feel like I have anything to prove to anyone. One day you might see me being super intellectual, Afrocentric, and reading these folks for their obvious anti-Black sentiment, self-loathing, and gaslighting. And the very next day, you might see me showing off my travels, outfits, ombre hair, and makeup just because I feel cute. I want to empower you to do the same, to not be boxed in or feel constrained by other people's opinions and assumptions of how you live your life. At this point, but for the grace of God, are we still living? So I say, let's ride this life thing till the wheels fall off how we see fit. That's what you're going to see me doing from now on. All right. And so that was the caption. And when I tell you, people just went off. I got so many likes, so many retweets and shares of that particular reel. And I mean, it was cute. The dress was cute. It was red. Red has a tendency to attract the eye and everything like that. But I really feel like it was because of the caption and because the caption resonated with so many people. And when you look in the comments on that reel, you see so many people, to thine own self be true, not team no boxes, not trying to be boxed in. I feel boxed in due to my job. I love to see it, no boxes. A lot of people are talking about yes to all of this. A lot of people are talking about how they feel stifled and boxed in by, I guess, their career. And it may not even be just career. It might be life circumstances as well. You know what I mean? And how to liberate yourself from that, right? And so that's what I was talking about in that reel. I was doing a cute little dance and making a cute little reel video. And normally I would have been so afraid to post that for judgment from my corporate peers, because believe it or not, they be Googling the doll. They be Googling your girl. And I guess they do it to everybody, but they always want to find your social and then have this, pry into a little bit of your personal life. And obviously, if you put anything on social media or the internet, it's for all eyes to see. But, it's a little bit uncomfortable when when you dip and do it on social media, and then in the office, you're very kind of about your business. You know what I mean? And so I had spent a lot of years, primarily when I was in DC, not putting my content out on YouTube, not using my voice, not following my intuition to do what my heart and my creative spirit wanted to do, because I was prioritizing that career, you know what I mean, and prioritizing my professionalism. And I'm a firm believer in divine timing. So, during that period, maybe that was the right thing to do. But now I'm feeling like I need to spread my wings. I need to use my voice, as I said at the top of the broadcast. And so a part of using my voice is putting content together, fun, lighthearted, cute, sexy, flirty content like that online. I'm a grown woman. What's the problem? What's the problem? I'm single. What's the problem? You know what I mean? I have no kids. What's the problem? You know what I mean? And so, they're just going to have to understand that your girl is multidimensional, multifaceted, and my entire life is not encompassed in whatever career they're offering me at the time. You know what I mean? And so that was just something that I decided on, that really was something that my intuition was ringing to me. Everything kept saying, use your voice, use your voice. I told you guys in October how that use your voice mantra and follow your bliss mantra. I told you follow your bliss was my mantra for 2022. And we talked about that in the vision board live. So if you missed that live, go back and watch that live. It's like one of our first ones where we talked about vision boards and setting mantras and goals for 2022. And what are those things called? What you do at the top of the year? The thing that you do at the top of your year when you set goals for the year. They have a certain word for it. Child, I forgot what it was. And yes, I do want a family, absolutely. And so I have a family, but my own family would be nice as well. And so we talked about that. I talked about following my bliss was one of my goals for 2022, one of my mantras, and one of those lives. And then I also told you resolution, exactly. Your New Year resolution was follow my bliss, as well as I did my vision board. And I told you guys that was one. I'm stuttering now, reading the comments and doing this at the same time. You know what? Let me take a breather. Let me sip some H2O. Take a breather. Okay, so I told you that was one of my resolutions and mantras for the year, and that came from my intuition and wanting to follow what my intuition was telling me. Another thing was that in October, I visited Dallas, Texas, which I loved. I want to get back to Texas. But I visited Dallas, Texas, and there I went to a conference of sorts, and so many people told me, I love your voice. I like your voice. Your voice is good. Were you on radio? Were you on TV? I like your voice. Oh, you have such a good delivery. You have such a good voice. And that's not I hear that all the time. All the time. You know what I mean? And so even when I went, that's how when I ended up in the UK, I had that radio show, because I knew I needed to be in media. I knew I needed a radio show. And so when I went to that conference, after not have gone to conferences with that many people for years because of obvious reasons, when I went to that conference in October, and I kept hearing that over and over in my mind and in my intuition, it translated to use your voice. You're not using your voice, use your voice. And so I was like, okay, all these people are complimenting me on my delivery, my voice. Use your voice, KELLS, use your voice. You know what I mean? And then pair that with your New Year's resolution of, okay, follow your bliss, use your voice. These two things are aligned. And so when you're talking about following your intuition to go hard after your dreams, you have to pay attention to what yourself is telling you, independent of what other people are telling you or what the world is telling you should do, or what your career is boxing you into, or what your family life is boxing you into, or what stereotypes of a strong Black woman are boxing you into, or anything like that. You know what I mean? All of those things serve to encapsulate, to capture you and stifle you into a role that you don't necessarily want to play or have defined for yourself. And one of the first things you need to do when you're using your intuition to guide you is to quiet the external voices. Quiet the external voices and start to listen to the signs and synchronicities that appear in your life. And what do they mean to you? Just like I said, everybody was complimenting me on my voice and my delivery and asking me if I had a radio show or if I was on television or something like that. And all of that was a translation into use your voice, KELLS, because I hadn't been using my voice. I had been off of YouTube for 2.5 years. You know what I mean? And I knew that I loved to use my voice because that's the reason why I had YouTube in the first place. So these types of things are your intuition when it starts giving you signs and synchronicities to follow your inner calling. You have to pay attention enough and not be distracted by everything to be able to decipher the signs and understand what it means to you and what messages and information and knowledge is being transferred to you personally. Right? Not what you think you should do, but what you know you should do in your heart, in your gut, in your body. Your intuition resides in your body. So it's a lot about how you feel, not how you think, not the thoughts, not your mind. Not your mind as the driver, but your heart and your gut and your body as the driver. Think about when you're in love, or think about when you're really having fun, or try to remember, when you're in ecstasy, pleasure, you're out of your head, you're into your body. Even when we're adults here, even when you're in the heat of passion, in the throes of passion, you with your lover, are you in your head or are you in your body? And not just because they're stimulating your body and you're stimulating theirs, but genuinely you pull the energy out of your mind trying to drive everything for you and overanalyze and stress you out and anxiety you. Your energy is pulled from your mind and it's pulled into your physicality. So when you're trying to follow your intuition, pay more attention to how your body feels when you think certain thoughts. Does your stomach cramp up when you think certain thoughts? You know what I mean? Those types of things will give you guidance into where your intuition is leading you. Other things that I do when I'm trying to follow my intuition is journal. Journal like first thing in the morning or before you go to bed, but primarily first thing in the morning, because your mind and your alpha waves and things like that are on a frequency where it's easier to decipher messages that might be coming to you, downloads that might be coming to you. If you're into spirituality, you will hear people use that term a lot, downloads, or channeled messages. Those are talking about messages that are delivered to you from your intuition, from your spirit, from your soul, from your angels, from your guides, from your ancestors. Whether you believe that or not, the truth of the matter is that we are always being delivered messages from source. You don't have to believe me. I said this in my live before. You test it out yourself. And you ask yourself the question. When you hear people say, ask yourself the own question and wait for the answer. When you hear people say channeled messages, downloaded messages, these are things these are intuition triggers and cues that are always being communicated to you. If you don't believe it's from ancestors or guides or divine, it can be from nature. It can be from your senses as well. Not only the 5 or 6, how many they say we have? 5 or 6, but other ones that are not as, tactile as taste, touch, sight, smell, hearing. You know what I mean? There are other sensory, energetic things that you can sense as well. And so however you want to get the information, but however you feel like you're getting the information is being communicated to you. When are you most receptive and open to that information? When you first wake up in the morning after a decent night's sleep. Not go to bed at 3 a.m., wake up at 5 and think you're going to be so receptive to downloads and channel messages and knowing what you should be doing. No, you have to have like a decent amount of sleep, be relaxed, and when you wake up in the morning, what you dreamt about, how you feel when you wake up. If you journal, what you feel like journaling about that day. ask yourself in the morning, what should I do for today? Those types of things are things when you're engaging with your intuition and with your soul, with your body, with your emotions, as opposed to jumping straight into your head of, oh my God, I got so much to do today, and what am I gonna do? And I gotta do this, and he ain't do that, and I ain't do this, and she ain't do that, and when are we gonna do that? That's your brain. That's your mind. That's not your intuition. So really decipher how your intuition feels versus your mind. So journaling in the morning time can really start to help you hear and feel and sense what your intuition is saying, separate from what your mind is directing and directing you to do. One thing that I want to point out about that is, personally, what I notice, the difference between my intuition when I'm trying to use my intuition to guide me to go hard after my dreams versus when my mind is doing it, is how it feels. When my mind is guiding me, it feels a little scary. It feels a little anxious. It feels like there's so much to do and I don't know if I can do it all. It feels, there's a little bit of undercurrent of fear to it. When my intuition is guiding me, it's clear. It's clear. There's no fear. It just feels like yes. It feels like, yes, I should do that. If there is any confusion introduced into it, it's my mind. My mind is the one that will overanalyze and introduce confusion into the situation. My heart, my body, my intuition will never introduce confusion. It will just have certainty about, yes, I want to do that. Yes, I want to go to the gym today. Yes, I want to travel. Yes, I want to use my voice. Yes, I should follow my bliss. Yes, I should buy a house. Yes, I need a new car. Yes, I want to, it just feels certain, and yes, no confusion. The mind is the one, when the mind has to interpret the yearnings of the heart and intuition, that's when the mind starts triggering and overreacting and thinking too much and being in fear and, being in anxiety and trying to understand how to make what the heart and the intuition wants, how to decipher it and make it and make it. The mind has a tendency to be very rigid in its possibilities, especially based on the conditioning that you've had in your family, in your life, in your society, in your culture. Your mind can be very boxed in. Whereas your heart, your intuition, your body, your emotions are usually very wide and vast and think big. And so it can cause some friction when your mind is trying to decipher the yearnings of your heart and your intuition, because your mind is trying to strategize how it's going to accomplish what your heart and your intuition wants. So your mind can start freaking out because, again, your mind is thinking in limited terms. It's only thinking in what it can calculate based on your conditioning, your education at that point in time. Whereas your intuition, your heart, your body, your soul is thinking in infinite terms. So there can be a contentious relationship between what your mind wants and what your heart and your intuition is telling you and calling you towards. So what you have to do is understand, I want to do this, but I can feel that there's some fear. So you're understanding the interplay and the dance between your intuition and your mind. And then what you work on then is how to get your mind to flex and be flexible and be open to your intuition, your soul's calling, right? And rely more on your soul's calling than your mind to drive you forward. I have to say that a lot of us who are traditionally educated, we rely a lot on our mind. And we have been conditioned to think that your intellect and your Western education is what is really is the driving force. But that has a cap. It has a ceiling on it. And so sometimes you have to teach your mind or coach your mind to relinquish control to the yearnings of your heart sometimes. And that does mean walking into the darkness and not knowing every step that is there, but trusting your soul to be your guide, trusting your intuition to be a guide, and knowing that your intuition very likely does not lead you astray. If it feels good, it doesn't lead you astray. Now, obviously, we're not talking about drugs and all kind of things like that, but in terms of passions and what makes you feel good, what makes you feel alive, energized, and things like that. Okay, so that relationship between what your mind is saying and what your intuition is saying is something that it took me a while to realize and to learn. So I think it's important for you guys to know that when you're trying to use your intuition to go hard after your dreams. Okay. So I think, okay, so journaling in the morning is really good because in the morning your mind is quieted and you can actually hear your inner guidance. You can actually sense or feel what you should be doing, and then you can write it down, right? You can even ask yourself a question before you go to bed, and when you wake up in the morning, journal about what you feel the answer is to that question, because a lot of times your answers are delivered to you when your mind is not reeling, and that's when you're sleeping. Your answer might even come in your dream. So it's important to write it down in the morning time when you first wake up, because you forget your dreams. After 5 minutes, you get up, brush your teeth, and the dream is gone. So what you dreamt about is gone. So, so it's important to journal it down if you really are trying to lean in and understand and learn how your intuition speaks to you. And your intuition speaks, everybody's intuition speaks to them differently. I'm just letting you know things that work for me. Yeah? So again, just to remind you guys, we're talking about the first topic that came up on what you guys picked to talk about today, and that is how to listen to your intuition and go hard towards your dreams. That was your number one on IG. I can see the numbers and the percentages here. Yep, that was our number one on IG. And then our number one on YouTube was moving and living overseas, pro tips and key things to know. And I'll talk about that second. But let's talk a little bit more about using your intuition to follow and go hard after your dreams. So journaling is really good. Another thing that I really like is meditation. I know a lot of people have an issue with meditation because they don't feel like they can sit their behind down and be quiet for any amount of time and let their mind rest so they can hear their heart. You know what I mean? And but it's really important if you're really wanting to lean in and understand what your intuition is saying to you. If you can quiet your mind for any amount of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you will start to be more receptive to the yearnings or the callings that you're being pulled toward. So I try to meditate a lot. Last year I was meditating every morning, but this year I'm actually working out more every day. So I've gone from like a sit down meditation to a moving meditation. So meditation is a good way to be able to tune into what your intuition is saying by quieting your mind. And I want you to notice the common theme here is that you hear your intuition more clearly, more distinctly when your mind is quiet, because you're trying to balance out the masculine mind with the feminine intuition. Did I just drop a nugget on y'all? Did I just drop a gem? You're trying to quiet the masculine mind so that you can amplify the feminine intuition so that you can bring them more into equilibrium. Because how we live and how we've been living is very patriarchal, meaning very masculine, father-like, very deeply rooted in the intellect. And things have shifted now, so we need to we need to bring more balance. And so we need to rely more on our intuition to guide our movements and our ambitions moving forward, meaning we have to let the divine feminine rise to bring us back into equilibrium. Let me sip on that one. Just let me let that resonate. Let me let that percolate. Let me let that marinate a little bit. So that's what we're talking about here when we talk about intuition versus your mind. Okay? And so I think we're all learning here the importance of that and the balance between the two. Because you guys know that this is a universe of polarities. For every up, there's a down. For every right, there's a left. For every, black, there is a white. But the whole nature and the balance of this ecosystem on this plane, in this planet, is harmony. And so that's why if you're too much in your patriarchal society, toxic masculinity, too much in your mind, it throws things off. Whereas you're trying to bring that intuitive, rest, nature type of energy back up. So we're back into equilibrium with the masculine and feminine on this plane. That's what's kind of going on right now. It's a power struggle right now, actually, but that's neither here nor there. So if you don't meditate, then another way that you can quiet your mind and raise your intuition so you can hear it better is working out. You can either do regular working out. Running on the treadmill is very meditative, very repetitive, movements helps to quiet your mind, because your mind, if you're doing something repetitive, your mind can kind of zone out on it. That's what meditation is. You can kind of zone out on it. You can get in the zone, and then that will let your mind be pacified enough for your intuition to be able to speak more clearly to you. So this is if you're running on the treadmill. If you go for a run, it's very meditative, because your body is just doing one thing. Your mind can focus on that, and then you can hear your thoughts, your yearnings more clearly. Yeah. So that's working out can be a meditative state as well. Yoga is your repetitive movements, your breath, your repetitive movements, plus tied with your breath and your breathing that you do in yoga, that will help quiet your mind as well. And then let your intuition rise. And not just in the moment of when you're doing the activity, but there will be a long-standing effect to it over time. So it's not just, oh, only when I'm doing yoga, or only when I'm running, or only when I'm meditating, or only when I'm journaling. No, there's a long-term impact to doing the practice consistently. The practice of journaling, the practice of meditating, the practice of yoga, or the training of whatever workout you decide. Yeah, all of that is meant to kind of control your mind, and have a little discipline to your mind, so that your intuition can speak. Your intuition will not yell over your mind or your thoughts. It will not. You know what I mean? It will not. Your intuition is not going to overtake your mind. You have to quiet your mind to let your intuition rise. We're talking feminine principles here. We're not talking beat down masculine principles, which are like overpowering and, going forward and driving and getting things done, with force. We're talking about receptive energy here. And so you have to quiet one to let feminine intuition rise. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I'm just letting you know what I've learned over the last probably 4 or 5 years. In hopes that it serves you in some capacity. And I'm not, you guys, I like to say we learn from the collective wisdom of the KELLS community here. And I'm not going to say that obviously I don't know everything. I'm just a human being, but I can share with you guys what I've learned. And this particular topic I think is important. So I'm going to drop some gems. And I see you guys dropping gems in the comments. I see Keith chiming in, and I so appreciate it. So I'll jump in the comments a little bit, and we'll talk about what everybody else has to say as well. But for now, let me go a little bit further into using your intuition to help you go hard towards your dreams. Tonight's topic. So doing a lot of exercise and things like that, so you can quiet your mind and hear more what your intuition is saying. 2 other places that I feel like your intuition speaks loudly to you, and you may notice as well, is when you're driving. If you're going on a drive, especially like if you're on the highway where you're just driving and zoning out, and thoughts populate into your mind, or ideas or inspiration, or those types of things that feel enthusiastic to you. When you get a thought and you feel enthusiasm, you feel compelled, you feel driven, you feel passionate, those thoughts are derived from your intuition. Yeah. If you feel something and you feel anxious or scared, or like you don't know what to do, or confusion, those are your thoughts, and you can let them go. You know what I mean? One thing about thoughts, and I'm going to say this to you guys, is that sometimes your thoughts, this is a little existential, right? But sometimes your thoughts don't even belong to you. They can just be thoughts of the collective that are passing through, and that you can let them go. You don't have to hold on to them like they derive from you. So a lot of times, especially during COVID, or any time where there's fear mongering happening in the collective, you might feel fear in your body or in your mind or around you, or just be on pins and needles, the energy of it. And it might not even be derived from you particularly. It might just be something in the collective consciousness that is passing through. So if anytime there is a thought that you do not want to hold on to, or that you don't feel serves you, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You don't have to hold on to everything that comes into your mind. Everything that comes into your mind is not fully derived from you. Sometimes it's derived from the collective consciousness and the energies of those around us, which is why when we talk about the news, watching the news, and how it's always pumping fear into the collective consciousness. When we talk about, situation, protests and things like that, even the January 6th thing where all those idiots stormed the Capitol, it might not have been the idea to do that, but because they all assembled there and it was in the collective consciousness, it governed their behavior. You know what I mean? Those mob mentality, that's what that is talking about. The individual might not have had that idea, but because it's so strong with so many around in such a small area, it ends up governing, it ends up taking over that idea or that thought or that energy ends up taking over what everybody was doing. Same thing with Travis Scott concert, where all these people there said it was a weird vortex and all these people were ended up falling down and being sucked down and things like that. It's not only an individual thing. Sometimes you can be affected by the collective consciousness. And so if at any time there's a thought that doesn't make you feel good, let it go. As I said, your intuition will never make you feel not good. It will always, your intuition is speaking to you when it feels good. You feel excited, you feel happy, you feel thrilled, you feel like a kid. You know how a kid feels when it's about to be Christmas? If you grew up in a family that had a good Christmas, that feeling that, oh my God, it's about to be Christmas and it's gonna be the best day ever, or it's about to be my birthday and it's gonna be the best day ever. That feeling. How often do you have that feeling as an adult? Let that feeling rise in you, because that is how your intuition speaks to you. When you feel those feelings of enthusiasm and happiness and thrill and joy, that's when your intuition is speaking. Anything else is usually your mind. Yeah? So, okay. So, feeling of thrill, intuition, okay, how you quiet the mind and let it percolate up. And getting in the zone. So if you play an instrument or if you play a sport, you know how they say when Michael Jordan or LeBron James is in the zone. When you're playing an instrument and you can go off and you're having a jam session and then you're just off into the world of the sound and of the music. They say Shonda Rhimes, who is a writer, who writes all those famous shows, she'll go into her room, put her headphones on and start writing, and she'll be in there writing for hours and she doesn't even realize that she's in there for hours. Those are all instances of being in the zone and being really in touch with your intuitive yearnings. If there's anything that you do that gets you in that zone, sometimes painting gets you in that zone, drawing gets you in that zone, dancers get in that zone and they don't even remember the movements that they did. Musicians don't even remember the notes that they played. Singers don't even remember how they delivered. They have to watch back the footage because they're so much in their zone. And instead of being governed by what their head wants them to do and all the anxieties there and the strategy and the intricacy, they're being governed by their passions and their loves and their joys and their body's expression. And that is also how your intuition talks to you. It tells you what to do next without you having to over intellectualize it. Yeah. And so if at any time there's anything that you do that can get you into the zone, use that as a catalyst for you to follow your dreams. Use that as inspiration. Yeah, let's talk about music next, but I'm gonna jump in the comments really quick. And I wanna tell you guys how music has really been instrumental to me getting back in touch with my intuition and using it to help me be inspired to follow my dreams. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this week's Kickback. I promised you guys that each and every Friday night I would show my face. So here we go, week 8. All I ask for you is to come on in. Chime in the comments. Let me know where you are watching from, what you are sipping on, and smash that like button if you will. I so appreciate it. And if you are watching on the replay, we appreciate you too so much. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read each and every one and I will get back to you, and we'll continue to learn from the collective wisdom of the KELLS community. Let me jump in the comments and then I'm gonna let you guys know how music, I feel like, plays a really, really big part in following your intuition towards your dreams. Okay, so I see somebody in here asking about my age. Why are you worried about my age? How old do you think I am? Oh man, my week was good, Keith. Thank you so much. I already answered that one. Ray wants to discuss your views regarding gender roles and high value relationships. Ray, they didn't pick that one as the top choice. Reference Love Come Down by Evangeline Champagne King. I don't know what that is, Keith. Heisenoful, why do you want to know my age, darling? Keith says he understand and overstand. You don't know, yeah. Subconscious existentialism, absolutely. Yes, Keith. You want to, Heisenoful, you want to marry me? Aw, that's cute. Anyway, so jumping back into the topic at hand, music, how you can use music to inspire and awaken your intuition to drive you towards your dreams. You guys know, for the whole time I've been on live, I've been talking about I'm a piano, and there is something about I'm a piano that just feels soul evoking, and that really makes me feel like you gotta go get it, 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 you know what you want. And that's the type of music that I feel like really awakens your intuition and your soul, and really helps you clarify where you want to go. That's one of the biggest things that I find my intuition helps me do, is to clarify where I'm trying to go. And so music helps to soothe the path so I can hear my intuition more clearly. And when I say hear, it's almost like an inner hearing, and it's almost a mixture between hearing and feeling. If I can feel where I want to go, I can feel what the next logical step is. Okay, so for me, I'm a piano is a big thing for that. You have a lot of music on YouTube that's about binaural beats that you can put in, binaural beats for love, binaural beats for fitness, binaural beats for sleep, and things like that, binaural beats for goal attainment. Those types of things are kind of soothing tunes that help your mind kind of chill out and bring you into a kind of a wavelength or a state that helps you clarify where you want to go. So use music. A lot of times it's dangerous because nowadays the music that's on the radio and the common music that we hear, it's actually not very inspiring. It's actually not lover. Remember back in the day when all the music was about love and being together and, being in love and being in a family and being in a relationship. Remember the music was like that, and now all the music is completely contrary to that. And it's actually quite dangerous because music has a very, very keen effect on the subconscious, and subconscious, again, talking about intuition, and it can really kind of lead you astray. So just be mindful of what you're listening to, especially when you're trying to tap into your intuition and use it to get you to go in a certain direction and to encourage you. Pay attention to what inspires you. That's why I'm talking about I'm a piano all the time, because I'm like, yo, there's something in the beat of that I'm a piano, that African beat, and the pace of it that makes me just feel energized and like a pep rally. It just feels like a pep rally, you know what I mean? And that's what I need when I'm really trying to break through my mind's constraints on what I can do and what I want to do, and really trying to propel myself towards what my intuition is telling me to do. Yeah. So I've always been a big music. My dad, I felt like, I think I mentioned to you guys one time that me and my dad used to communicate well through music. I felt like I could understand him better based on the music that we would listen to when he used to drop me to school. And sometimes, you know how you want to say something, but you don't know the right words to say, and you can find a song that expresses that, and you can send it to your love, or you can send it to your friend, or you can just listen to it over and over. Music has a tendency to be able to speak a language, not of the mind, but of the heart and of the body and of the soul. And when you're talking intuition, again, that's what you're talking about, is pulling yourself out of your over analytical mind and pulling yourself into your body and your passions and what makes you feel good. What makes you feel good. And if it feels good, very likely it's the right thing to do. Right? Now, again, we're not talking about feels good like drinking yourself under the table. That doesn't feel good. Or doing some kind of drug. That doesn't feel good. Those are numbing. Those types of behaviors are numbing your true feelings. What we're talking about is really being sober and really feeling good. And how do you cultivate that so that you can use that guidance to drive you towards your dreams? Yeah. What else do I want to say here about intuition and going towards your dreams? Music plays a big part for me. It always has. Sound plays a really, really big part for me. All right, intuition towards your dreams. What else do I want to talk about there? Um, how do you know you're doing the right thing? A lot of us have been brought up to think that life should be hard and that work should be hard and it's hard to make a living, and that if it's hard and it's struggling and you're hustling and you're grinding, then you're doing it right. But the thing about your intuition is that it's always going to put you on the path of least resistance. When you say the path of least resistance, it's going to put you on the path of ease. It's going to put you on the path of flow. It's going to put you on the path of what you're already good at, naturally talented at. It's going to put you on the path of things go easy. Things always work out for me. I am worthy of this. I am happy to do this. I do this with my heart. You know what I mean? I'm in the zone when I do this, so it comes naturally to me. Your intuition is going to drive you towards that way. And a lot of times we push against that way because we feel like we can't make a living that way. Because we are told that there's one or two ways to make a living: go to college, get a job, be an entrepreneur, suffer and grind yourself down to the bone. Uh, you know, um, do something criminal and get rich quick. You know what I mean? There's only like such a few ways that we're told, or we're programmed to think that we can make money or to make a living. But your intuition, when you're trying to go towards your goals, is going to put you on the path of least resistance. What it comes naturally to you. And you have to not be afraid of your fate, not be afraid of your destiny, not be afraid of success. And that feeling of pushing back towards what you like because you feel like you can't be successful. That is you railing against kind of your intuitive calling and your intuitive pull. You have to realize that your intuition is not going to pull you towards heartache and hardness and things that are challenging and that you can't do. It's not going to pull you towards that. It's going to pull you towards things that you're naturally good at, and and if you're not naturally good at it, you're naturally interested in it. So it's going to be okay and easy for you to want to keep digging and keep learning and keep moving towards. You know what I mean? So realize that that's another thing, that when you're looking at your intuition to help you go after your dreams, it's going to be pulling towards things that you're naturally good at. So you cannot be afraid to go towards those things that feel easy, especially when we've been conditioned to think that everything must be hard, that life must be hard. Yeah. Another thing about the intuition is that it's going to pull you towards the next logical step the most strongly. So you might have a dream of you might have a dream of owning a house, and your intuition is going to be calling you to save money. So you might be trying to fight to figure out how you could get a house, when the next logical step on the path towards what you want is something that you may not fully comprehend. You know what I mean? So that's a pretty easy analogy, right? Like if you want a house, you save money, but it might not be that clear. It might not be that clear cut. For me, a lot of times, you know what, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little thing. Right now, my intuition is, right now, what I would like to do is cultivate a long-term relationship in my life. Keith asked me earlier if I wanted a family. Absolutely, I want a family. You know what I mean? And so I feel like, but what I keep getting pulled to do is to use my voice, to be on YouTube, to maybe think about shifting my career, maybe think about moving more into media, maybe moving more into having a little bit more light and shine on me, not being so hidden behind computer screens and things like that, being out more, being more visible. And so it's sometimes like, why am I wanting or feeling like I want to be in a relationship, I want to have a family and have children, but my intuition is calling me to be more on YouTube, to be more visible, to be more in media, to use my voice. Those two things seem a little bit, you would think that your intuition would be telling you to like go on a dating app. My intuition is like, hell no. You would think your intuition would be telling you to try to date more, try to slide in more DMs, try to do all these things that you would think would be directly related to the long-term relationship. And it's not telling me to do that. It's telling me to do other things that have more to do with my career. And so sometimes it can be, following your intuition a lot of times is stepping out on faith. It's stepping out on faith and believing that your intuition has never led you wrong before. And that might be a healing that you might need to undertake to be able to follow your intuition. Because if you've made mistakes in your past, or if you've ended up in situations where you thought with your head you were doing the right thing and it turned out to be the wrong thing, you might be blaming that on your gut or your intuition, when really who's to blame is your mind, because you were more listening to what your mind and your fear-based mind was telling you to do versus what your intuition, your clarity, your center, your soul was telling you to do. So it's hard for you to trust yourself, because you don't know the last time you did something and it didn't work out, when in reality you weren't following your intuition, you were following your mind. So that's why it's important to quiet your mind, amplify your intuition, so you can know the difference when what is calling you, and then that way your actions will be more aligned and you'll have more success. Your mind, it speaks very loud, but a lot, as I said before, your mind sometimes feels a little bit more like fear, whereas your intuition always feels like clarity, thrill, joy, happiness, a kid on Christmas morning, a kid on their birthday, pleasure, you with your significant other in the throes of pleasure, climax. That's what comes through where you're in that energy. That's more intuition and joy. It's another reason why folks tell you to do gratitude journals, because when you're in the vibration and the energy of gratitude, and you're listing out everything that went well and that you love and that you're happy about and you're so grateful for, that vibration will let your intuition be able to speak loudly as well. So gratitude journal is that's a reason why people say do a gratitude journal, because you're trying to get into that vibration. Hey DB, thanks for joining. Yeah. So the next logical step. So when you're following your intuition, the next logical step may not always feel so clear, like it's fully aligned with where you're trying to go. Sometimes the next logical step that your intuition is getting you to do on a journey is a path that your mind can't fully comprehend, but you have to help your mind and coach your mind into trusting your soul's journey, and at least balancing that out. Yeah, so it's not as easy as it sounds, but I just I was happy that you guys chose this topic, because we can get a little deep on the channel and talk a little bit about more spiritual things and intuitive things, divine feminine things, and how you can really amplify that in your life to serve you, whether you are a man or a female. And I hope you guys understand that when we're talking about energy, divine masculine and divine feminine, yin and yang, each one of us occupies that balance and that harmony of those energies. And so when we're talking about divine feminine energy, we're not only talking about females with female anatomy, we're talking about the energy of the feminine. Whereas same thing when we're talking about divine masculine, we're not just talking about men with a male's anatomy, we're talking about divine masculine energy. And if you guys want me to do a video about the difference of those two, I will. Just chime in the comments and let me know. Yeah. So I am going to, actually I'm looking at the comments and all I see is love in the comments, not too many questions. But I appreciate you guys so much. We're talking about how to use your intuition to drive and follow towards your dreams. That was you guys' number one. And on IG, and your number one on YouTube was how to live and move overseas. So let's get into that one. I'm gonna take a quick sip and we'll get into that one. And I'll tell you guys some little tips and tricks on how to move and live overseas, and some pro tips and some things you need to know. Yeah, let's do it. Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. Thank you guys so much for being here on our Friday night kickbacks. Smash, smash, smash that like button. And be sure to chime in. Let me know what you want to talk about. I know Ray wants to talk about high value. What did you want to talk about, Ray? High value. I like for you to discuss views regarding gender roles in high value relationships. So I'll talk about that a little bit at the end, but they didn't choose it, Ray. Like everybody didn't. I have to go with what the community wants. And so the community wanted to talk about using your intuition to drive towards your dreams and how you live and work overseas and all of that good stuff. Yeah. I wanted to say to you guys that the reason why even the how to use your intuition to drive toward your dreams was based on a reel that I recently posted on IG, where I talked about feeling boxed in and wanting to be more expressive, my personal expression and creative, use my voice, follow my bliss, and that my corporate professional persona and career was kind of stifling me, and that I was no longer going to be stifled by that, and I had to follow my intuition to use my voice. And so that's why that first topic came up, and you guys gave me so much traction on that reel on IG, that I knew that you guys wanted to talk about this. So I put it as an option, and then you guys said you wanted to talk about it, so here we go. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's really about being very clear on what my intuition is asking me to do, even in the face of fear. I have an idea of what I want to do towards the end of this year, and sometimes I can feel my mind creating obstacles and boxing me in. How's that going to work? What about this? What about that? And I immediately have to work on saying, shh. I don't need to worry about all the details and the intricacies of the strategy of what I'm going to do. I just need to get clear. I just need to get clear on what I want, and the path will reveal itself to me. That is much different than how we are all kind of coached to be successful. You know what I mean? But I'm starting to lean towards that, and like just do the next logical step, the next step, and don't worry about eating the entire elephant. Just worried about eating one bite at a time. Okay. So, all right, guys, I think that's enough about intuition. Let me tell you guys a few ways you can move overseas. I'm going to drop the actual link to the full on video into the chat so you guys can check that out when you want to. So I just put that in the chat. So if you guys want to look at that video, it's back. It's from a couple years ago, but I talk way in detail about how to move overseas and what that means. So let me drop you guys some knowledge on that. Okay, so I have like 8 ways that you can move overseas that I want to run off to you guys really quickly. You can study abroad. That's what I did. I decided that I want to get my master's overseas. So I found a reputable program that would admit me with my credentials. And then I applied for the program, got in, and then I actually did use US Department of Education loans to go and pay for the program. Okay, so this was my master's. It was not my undergrad. I do know some people that have done their undergrad overseas and used US loans to do so. Tia Taylor is a huge person on YouTube that did that for her undergrad in Italy, in Bocconi. I did my at Bocconi University. I did my master's at University of London Royal Holloway campus for my MBA, and we both took, I believe she took student loans, but I took student loans and the US financed it. Right? And so I would not recommend taking student loans for undergrad, but you got to do what you got to do. I took for master's because I felt confident doing that, and I wanted to double my salary, which it did. And so studying abroad is a way that you can move overseas. Another way that you can move overseas is just do an international job search. Go on Indeed, go on LinkedIn, go on Monster, go on LinkedIn and look at your people that you know and pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I want an opportunity to work overseas. I see that you are posting this opportunity. How do I best position myself to be in the running for it? So you can apply directly to international job searches. And I believe in that video, I mentioned some specific sites that are for international job hunt that you can look for. If you are in a career that is like a very high demand career, and the particular country that you want to go to has a lack of that career skill set, it's easier for you to get in the country. So for instance, say you want to go to London, and right now they're having a deficit of nurses, of registered nurses in London, and you're a registered nurse. It would be easier for you to apply for a job and get sponsored to be there, because when you're coming into another country, you need to be sponsored. Your visa needs to be sponsored. So if they have a deficit of the skill set that you possess, it's going to be easier for you to get the job. So what you would first do is look at the country you want to go and go do some research on their immigration site to see what jobs and careers they're looking for. They're actively looking to bring into their country. And so immigration sites for these countries do show that. So just do a little Googling, do a little Google schmoogle, and find out who they're looking for. And then you can identify if your job or your career or your skill set falls into what they're looking for. And you're you're ahead of the game in terms of being able to get your visa to be sponsored to go to the country to go work. Yeah. So the third option is secondment. Secondment means you work for a multinational company where you currently live, and they have an international arm, and you're seconded, or you're allowed to go work for in the international arm of your domestic company. So if you're in Canada or Mexico or US or anywhere where you are, South Africa, and particularly you're in South Africa, you want to go work in Australia, your company has a branch in Australia, you can be seconded to go and work in Australia. So you would have to do the internal paperwork and do the internal research to find out where your company is also headquartered and see if you can go over there via a secondment. Another part of secondment is sometimes these companies have a global rotation program. So if you work for one of the big consulting firms or anything like that, sometimes they have a global rotation program where you get to apply to be in the program and do a 6 months rotation in London, 6 months rotation in Ghana, 6 months rotation in Australia, 6 months in Mexico, and they rotate you out. So look at the opportunities that currently exist where you are working and where you are studying, and see if there are rotational programs or study abroad programs that you could use to go spend some time overseas. Yeah. So if you're studying, there will be study abroad programs that you could apply to. And if you're working, depending on the type of company that you're working for, if it's a multinational, you might be able to get into a global rotation program with your company and go overseas for 6 months, a year, 2 years, or however long. Yeah. And au pair, that's a number 4 or 5 option. Au pair is a nanny. It's a glorified nanny, but usually wealthy people who live in other countries, they're looking for au pairs, AU space PAIR, and they usually like au pairs who speak other languages, or that they bring something to the table because they're wanting you to help raise their children for a period of time. And they want, wealthy people like their children to, liaise with people who speak other languages, or that you can teach them something, or things like that. So you can look at au pair programs where you go live with a host family, take care for their children, and live overseas, and pretty much everything is paid for. This is usually for younger females, but I'm sure younger males can work as well. Maybe the family has a lot of boys and they want a male au pair. But do some research into being an au pair to be able to live overseas. Another option is the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps. So Peace Corps is almost like a program that you join to go do work and volunteerism in another country. I'm reluctant to say third world country or anything like that, because that's really just a savior complex term that we use to denigrate other different systems and different countries. But essentially they send the Peace Corps in to go and help, bring food to, where there's been a hurricane, or where there's been an earthquake, or where there's been a war-torn issue and things like that, and you go in and you support the reconciliation of the community in some particular area. And so Peace Corps is definitely something that you can apply for. So Google schmoogle that, and you'll be able to international travel with the Peace Corps as well. And with that one, you're not an individual traveling, you're with a collection of people in a well-organized system. Now, you might not be in the most luxurious circumstances. You might not be able to do everything that you want to do, but you will be serving your international community. So I feel like a lot of people like the Peace Corps for that philanthropic kind of service to humanity piece. So if that's what you like, Peace Corps may work for you to go overseas. Yeah. Teach English as a second language. Teach, a lot of people I know, they went to a friend of mine was wanting to go to Japan to teach English. Another friend of mine actually went to Korea to teach English. And so I find that it's mainly Asian countries that want to bring English as a native speaker people over to teach for a certain amount of time their younger students English language. So definitely, if you feel like, oh, I'd like to teach and I can, build curriculum to be a teacher overseas, I think it's called, try TEFL, and Google that and put teaching foreign, oh goodness, like do some Googling, but basically you're teaching English to foreign students. And what I saw, it was a lot of Asian countries do that. Now, this was before COVID. I think COVID nowadays has made people do a lot of the teaching stuff via Zoom. But you may still, maybe in a year or two, there still may be an opportunity for you to do the in-person teaching and go live in a village in Korea and South Korea and teach the students English and then live and work in the community. So teaching is definitely an option. And as I said before, primarily I've seen that for Asian countries. Yeah. Seventh one here is just travel. So I will say that you have to remember that some of these countries have a good relationship with the US, and you can go and live there for up to 6 months without a visa or without any issues. Now, can you work there and make money? No. But can you just go visit and still be okay for 6 months, 4 months, 3 months? Yes. So what you would do is look at the particular country and see what's the extended amount of time that I could actually just go work from that country. If you work remotely, like everybody is, like most of us are working remotely right now, or if you work for yourself, if you are a content creator, if you are a freelancer or you are part of the gig economy and you don't have to work from a particular place, pack up your laptop, pack up your two little bags and go live in Mexico for 6 months. Go live in London for 6 months. And as I said, you can't work there, but because you're working remotely from where you're actually from, it shouldn't be a problem. But you can go station somewhere for a few months and live there, do your American job overseas, so long as you're allowed to. You'd have to check with your employer, or if you work for yourself, you do what you want to do, period. But if you're allowed to, you can go and station somewhere for, I believe, up to 6 months, and you'd have to go look at the immigration site for the country that you're interested in visiting or working from. Yeah, so that's easy if you don't have to be paid through anything, any company there. Right. So if you already have your income, or you already stashed your money and you already know, I got 6 months, I'm straight, I'm gonna go live in Bali, you know what I mean, and be good, you know what I mean, for 6 months to a year. You can definitely do that without having to worry about immigration and things like that. But do some Googling on the immigration site. And the last one I have here is just apply directly for immigration. So as you know, some people are immigrants to their country, wherever you're watching from, and you know that if you're trying to get in a country, you can actually just go to the immigration and do the paperwork and try to get a visa to live and work in the country, or try to apply to get a green card to live and work in the country if you've had a visa for a while. So there are, it's not always do a trick like, be an au pair or study abroad or Peace Corps or go teach or anything like that. Sometimes you can just go to the immigration site and read up and find out exactly what you need to do to be able to get into the country. Yeah. So again, it's all about doing the research, identifying the country that you want to live in and going there. So how do you identify the country that you're interested in? Visit, travel, go there, for 2 weeks, talk to people that live there. Maybe look on your social media and find a friend of yours, or even make a friend who lives in that country. Check out YouTube videos and find Americans or South Africans or Germans who live in the country that you're interested in and watch their YouTube videos. Talk to them and see what it's really like living in the country, and that'll help you decide. For me, I knew I wanted to study in London, and so I felt like I could really vibe with it. I never visited before, but there was something about it that I knew just felt good to me, and so I just applied to study and got in and made the move. But again, that's probably because my intuition was very clear about what I wanted to do next. You know what I mean? And so you never know. But yeah, you can always do the research on YouTube and Instagram. I think YouTube is really good for doing the research on finding people who live in the country that you're interested in, and then just watching their lifestyle and seeing how it goes and asking them questions too. But again, always do your own one-on-one research. Don't just rely on talking heads on YouTube, because people be just trying to get clicks and views and don't be telling the full story. You know what I mean? So definitely do your own research, but you can start with YouTube, Googling. YouTube is pretty much a search engine, and you can look for anything on here. Okay. So what are some tips and tricks I can tell you about living overseas. One key thing that really that was really interesting to me about living overseas, and the key tips and tricks. And hold on, before I jump into key tips and tricks, let me look in the comments and see what you guys are talking about. Yeah. All right, so Keith is saying go to conventions in larger cities, Miami, Vegas, Chicago, network that way. Check with the DoD contractors. So this is if you're a professional, you know what I mean. You can go to conferences. Sometimes your companies has conferences overseas or things like that. If you're a vendor or something, you can try to finagle your way into going to these business activities overseas. So that's definitely a way. Check with nations that have agreements with the U.S. government. Yep, that's definitely a way as well. Google Schmoogle. Google Schmoogle. Google has everything you need. And so, you just Google it and find out who's on the red list, who's on the red zone, and all of that. But just do your own research and things like that. Okay, so let me take a sip. And then we're going to talk about some key, two tips that I know about traveling and working abroad, and then we're gonna call it a wrap. We've already been on for a little over almost an hour and a half. It's looking like, and y'all know when my water is almost up, it's almost time for me to go. So chime in on the comments. Any last comments that you guys want me to talk about? We'll talk about it for this edition of the Kickback. Earlier today, we talked about using your intuition to go hard after your dreams, not being boxed in, following what your soul's calling is telling you to do, and how to quiet your mind so that you can actually tap in, download, channel, hear, feel, receive what your intuition, what your soul is telling you to do and calling you towards, what your passion is calling you towards. And the second part of the live was talking about how you can travel, live, study, work overseas, which we went into. We had 8 or 9 options there, and I dropped the link in the comments so that you guys can actually watch the full-on video that I created about that. And now I'm going to tell you about 2 things, 2 pro tips, key tips that I feel like is good for I feel like is good for living overseas. One thing about living overseas is that all of the stereotypes that you have from your home country do not necessarily translate to the new country. Whoa, excuse me, the water's got a little bubbly here. Do not always translate to the new country. So there were a lot, like here in the US, people always, because of the way I speak, because I speak well, they always kind of know that. They always ask me, especially if I'm in like Miami or Florida, they'll ask you where you're from. They'll immediately ask you where you're from or where your family's from. Whereas when I was over in London, nobody ever asked me where my family's from. They just always would just introduce me as KELLS, the American. So it was the most American I had ever been. Another thing that I talk a lot about the stereotypes in London and Europe in general, when I lived over there, was that in the US at the time, I had a tendency to feel very invisible. The stereotypes of Black women, as you guys can probably tell online, are not always the greatest. And that translates into reality as well. People have, a tendency to try to denigrate Black women a lot. But when I was over in Europe, it was completely the opposite. The people treated me so well, so loving, so much light. So much love, it was just a completely different experience. And I think my Black friends over in London would say it's because I was American, mainly because I feel like the Black people in London sometimes have issues with racism as we do here in the US. But I don't know what it was, but as far as I knew, the people knew how to pronounce my name perfectly. They would invite me everywhere, just love from day one. Whereas sometimes in the US, depending on where you are, it's hard to make friends. As I talked about in my last video, DC versus ATL. When I first moved to ATL way back in 2006, it was tough for me here. I felt like an alien half the time. I don't even know if I talked about that in my DC versus ATL last live that I did. If you didn't see that one, catch that one. Yeah, there's a lot of gems in that one. But when I went to London, I was immediately like, Beyonce. I'm not even gonna hold you. I was dead Beyonce and Rihanna. I don't know why, but I just had that experience. And so what I would say is a key tip and a pro thing that you need to understand when you're going to these other countries is that the stereotypes that you hold about yourself and your personal identity from the country that you are in will not necessarily hold true in the new country that you're now living in. So you need to be able to open your mind and flex your mind to the new persona that you might transform into. And to be honest with you, it feels so good to release yourself of an American construct of who you are. Just again, talking about releasing yourself out of the box. When you go overseas, you are out of the stereotypes and the box inness of your American perceptions of who you are based on whatever gender and sexual expression, identity, skin color, what do you call that, where your people is from, all of that. You're released from all of that, and you get to be somebody completely different if you want to. And it is so amazing. It's so freeing. You feel like a kid again. You know what I mean? You feel like a kid again in the enthusiasm and the excitement, but you have the mind and the experience of however old you are. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. So I would say when you're going overseas, remember not to box yourself in and to let yourself observe who you now are in your new country. You know what I mean? And this is one of the main reasons why I think travel, it has been one of the most transformative things for me in formulating my identity outside of the United States and outside of the constructs and the stereotypes that are imposed on me based on this body that I occupy here. You know what I mean? And so I am a huge, huge advocate for living and traveling overseas and allowing yourself to transform into somebody different, So that's one key thing that I want you to know about traveling overseas. One pro tip: be open to who you will transform into and become based on the new energy and the new space and the new persona and stereotypes that you now occupy overseas. Be careful, the pendulum might swing both ways. So depending on what country you're in, it might be a worse perception or it might be a better perception. So be careful, because there's a lot of countries on this globe that don't particularly love Americans. And I think Black Americans, they're okay with, but sometimes countries are not so much okay with white Americans. So you have to be careful about where you're at. You'll hear a lot that French people don't like Americans, but usually that they're talking about white Americans. Not usually talking about like Black Americans. A lot of places where you go where there's when you're Black American, they love you, because they see you as, there's just an elevation that is an elevated perception. I don't know why, but all I know is I enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it. Hey, Matthew. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing. Another pro tip that you have to be concerned about when you are living and traveling overseas is reverse culture shock. So what is reverse culture shock? On my channel, one of my most popular videos is a reverse culture shock video. I'm gonna try to put it in the chat right now just so you guys could take a peek at it if you wanna see it. If you go to my videos and go to sort it by most popular videos, you'll see that the one I talk about, the second most popular video, 128,000 views, is me talking about reverse culture shock. And so what do we mean? I'm gonna put it in the link in the chat right now so you guys can take a peek at that. That's a long time video, and not every idea that I express in that video is still 100% accurate, you know what I mean? Because time passes and you learn. But I think it's an important thing for you to know when you travel is that you may be subject to reverse culture shock. So let me tell you what that is. Reverse culture shock is when you live overseas and you live in a different country for a while, and when you return home or to your native country, you don't feel as welcomed or as comfortable with your new identity in your old country. So it's a really weird experience. You see things differently. So for instance, let me give you one example. I gave you an example earlier of like when I went to London and when I went to Europe, my reception as a Black woman was so good that when I came back to the United States, I could gauge my reception and how it wasn't the same. Desirability didn't feel the same at the time when I came back. however long I posted that video ago, and it was disheartening. So it's a reverse culture shock thing, right? Because now how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself and your reception in the world in your new place was heightened, and so now you come back to where you're actually from and it's back down, and it kind of sucks, and you have to deal with that. You have to deal with going back into your old identity, even though you're now this new elevated person that sees yourself differently in the world. So that's a reverse culture shock issue. Another reverse culture shock issue is that living in the U.S., we have guns. We have a gun issue, and we have a what is that thing called, a crisis as it relates to guns and shooting and killing. When you live here, you are so ingrained, it's so ingrained in the culture that, you know, you kind of just deal with it. But when you live elsewhere where guns are not an issue, and you see how the US looks to people who don't have that gun issue, we look crazy. We look like crazed lunatics. And so that was a culture shock issue as well, because now you're having to move back into a country that you know is like not perceived well on that particular topic, and you now relate to living in a place that doesn't have that issue, but now you're going back into your original place where before it wasn't that much of an issue with you because you grew up in it, but coming back into it, having not lived into it, it creates an issue for you, or anxiety or discomfort. So that's what reverse culture shock is. It's going back into your old paradigm and finding discomfort in that, because now you've lived elsewhere and lived in a different country and different paradigm, see things differently. And so now you're having to find yourself comfortable with things that you no longer find comfortable. So yeah, reverse culture shock is definitely a pro tip you should know about living overseas, and then letting your mind flex and be open to who you will become living in your new country. That is definitely a pro tip. I love travel, and I love living overseas. What's another pro tip? Thank you, Boom. Dang, girl, you got so much gems. Shaking my head. It's crazy. You know, I always said to my brother, I have a brother, I have a few brothers, but I always said to my brother that I will never not tell you what I wish somebody would have told me. I would never not tell you what I wish somebody would have told me. So that's what I'm doing on the channel, is I share with you guys what I know, not as somebody who knows it all, but I'm just sharing with you what I wish somebody would have told me. That's it, period, full stop. And I want you guys to do the same in the comments. We learn from the collective wisdom of the KELLS community over here. So if you have a gem to drop, feel free to drop it in the comments, and I will definitely amplify what you have to say. But I will never not tell you what I wish somebody would have told me. You know what I mean? If it's been a blessing to me in my life, I absolutely open-heartedly let you know that this has served me, so hopefully it will serve you in some capacity, if not now, in the future. There is a danger in being that open and being that open with people. I want to read you guys real quick a comment that came in. You guys know I told you I posted that reel that got a lot of traction about not being boxed in by a corporate career and being personally expressive and things like that. And I got text back, about it. One of my friends texted me back, said, let me tell you a couple things that the people them text me back and said. One of my friends said, she said, you feeling yourself got me feeling myself. Again, that's why I share what I share, because, I know that me being at liberty to be in my own, comfortable in my own skin, on some level empowers other people to be comfortable in their own skin. You know what I mean? And I get texts and messages like that just reaffirm that. So I'm like, yes, I'm doing the right thing. I'm using my voice. I'm following my intuition. I'm going after my dreams, you know what I mean? And the callings of my heart. But one thing, as I said, the danger about that, I want to tell you another thing that came through that people was texting me about off of that reel that I did most recently that got a lot of traction. She said, a friend of mine said, I love that red dress and your message in the reel you recently did. Don't let these folks dim your light. You can be professional and fabulous. And so I was like, oh, you saw that? Because she's texting me, so she didn't even message me on IG, so I didn't even see. There were so many people that saw it that I didn't even see that this particular friend had seen it. And so I was like, oh, you saw that? And I said, that reel got a lot of traction. I feel like a lot of people resonated with it. I feel like a lot of people felt that way. And she said, I did. She says, a lot of people can relate. So many hide who they are. And to me, I translate that into what they know as well, which is why when you say I have so many gems, I'm never going to hide what I know from you, you know, so long as I feel like it can serve you and in self serve me. You know what I mean? But she said here, so many people hide who they are because of what others may say or think. But actually, many are envious of those who live out loud. People are going to think what they think, and you can't control that. You only can control how you show up. So be happy and be you. Do all the things they wish they could, but are afraid to do. Use your voice, shine, follow your intuition, go after your dreams. Know that you empowering yourself to do that immediately also gives people the liberty to empower themselves as well. There's a Marianne Williamson quote that Nelson Mandela quoted in his inaugural speech, that your light, when you let your light shine, you empower people to let their light shine as well. And so I'm always going to drop gems when I can, share with you what I know so that, you know, you can do with it what you will. But I ain't never going to tell you what I wish somebody told me. Now, you can listen to it or not. That's up to you. But you ain't never gonna say, nobody ever told me. KELLS told you. KELLS tried to drop a gem or two, whether you got it or not. That's something different. But, you know, to each his own at a divine timing. You know, I believe in that. I'm gonna take a spin. We've been on live for more than an hour and a half, guys. Y'all is eating up all my Friday nights. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a real quick spin over in the comments. Make sure I address all y'all comments. And then what I want for you to do is smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, put on your notifications, and yeah, chime in the comments for a last spin, and then we're gonna call it a night. Yeah, another Friday night kickback in the bag. This is like week 8 or 9. Clap it up for consistency. Yes, I so appreciate you guys showing up for me, and I've definitely been showing up for y'all. So we're gonna keep riding this wheel till the wheels fall off. Yeah. So let me see what we're saying in the comments. All right. Keith is saying it was because you're an American sister. You are the competition. I lived in Germany. I don't know what I was competing with them for. I don't compete. You don't compete where y'all don't compare. I wasn't competing with anybody. I was with myself. You know, I was letting my light shine. You know what I mean? So I was having a good time in Europe. I loved it. I loved London. I loved Madrid. I loved Stockholm. I need to get to Italy. I need to get back to Paris. I loved Paris. I want to get to the south of France. I want to get to the south of Italy. I want to get to, I want to get to Accra, Ghana. I want to get to Johannesburg, South Africa. I want to get to Asia. I want to get to Japan. I want to get to Bali. I need to get up to Canada. I want to go to Banff in Canada. I love Mexico. I've been to Tulum, Mexico City, and Cancun. Love Mexico. I want to get to South America, maybe Colombia, Medellin. I know a couple of coworkers that work there. It's just so many places that I want to travel to, and I want to show you guys. I want to vlog and definitely just encourage you to travel as well. As soon as we can get this thing behind us and we can get back out there, definitely travel changed my life. And, you know, I can't say enough good things about it. All right. Boom is saying, dang, girl, you got so much gems. It's crazy. LOL. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah. Keith is saying the Second Amendment is necessary, required. KELLS, can we talk about this later? No, we can't talk about no guns later. No war machine later. No, ma'am. No, sir. Take a cultural and customs head start class. Okay. Boom is giving me so much love in the comments. But where are you? Where are you based? Where are you from? KELLS, you could write a whole story with these wisdoms you have here. you know what? I have a book of knowledge written on my phone and things that I wanted to share with the collective. And so I think I'll be doing a series on my YouTube channel, just sharing the knowledge that I've acquired over the last few years. And hopefully it serves you as well as it's been serving me. Yeah. All right. How long ago, by the way, were you in the DMV? I live in Alexandria. I was in the DMV 2 years ago. 2 years ago. There is a fashion event on the 11th. Keith, I have no idea what you're talking about, boo. Boom said I'll definitely be back. We're here every Friday night, kicking it around 7 o'clock Eastern time. And I'll try to go earlier so I can get my European folks in. But if not, they always show so much love and catch it on the replay on Saturday or Sunday over the weekend. But yeah, we're gonna try to lean in and do these Friday night kickbacks consistently. This is week 8. And yeah, I appreciate you joining me. Marseille, France is amazing, by the way. I need to get to the south of France. I'm thinking about doing it for my birthday. My birthday is in March. I'm a Pisces baby. So I got a plan this weekend what we're trying to do for the birthday in the middle of March, first day of spring. So yeah, it may be Europe for your girl, for the doll. You may see me in Europe. Vancouver, Canada, and Panama. Yes. Travel Girl in action. You got it. Montreal. Yes, has the largest comedy festival in the world. I was going there for the event in 2020, and of course the pandemic closed the borders. Want to go this year? Yes, Matthew. Try to go this year. Try to go this year. Try to go this year. I do these videos so you know you're not out here alone in this sometimes crazy dating, loving, living world. If this is your first time here, I would love to have you subscribe, smash that like button, smash that notification, and chime in the comments. Show your girl some love for the YouTube algorithm. I'm trying to get back out here. I'm trying to use my voice and follow my bliss. And so I would love your support in me doing that. Yeah, we will be back here next week, Friday, for another kickback. I will put the options for us, what we're talking about on Thursday. So message me on IG, on Facebook, or in the community section here on YouTube to let me know what you want to talk about. And I will put them as an option. Hopefully the community will talk about it. I know Ray has been sending me some topics, but the community doesn't really want to talk about it. But one of these days, Ray, we're going to talk wholeheartedly about one of your topics. And I do appreciate you messaging me and let me know what you want to talk about, because I do pull them into the options, yeah? I appreciate you guys so much for riding with me on this journey, using my voice. I hope I dropped some gems for you tonight and you really found the information about, or my personal stories and information about using your intuition to follow your dreams and go hard after what you want. And then the gems about how you can live overseas and key pro tips you need to know when you move overseas and when you move back. I hope you found some gems and it really empowers you to live your best life. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being here with me. Smash the like button on the way out. Mwah. See you guys next week. Bye.